about this too, a veteran kicker who won't be frazzled, who won't be tempted to start crying if Zim gets crusty. And that seemed to work okay until the Jacksonville game. And then certainly yesterday, 32 years old, a veteran kicker who's been around the block a lot, Dan Bailey, melted down as badly as Carlson did or worse, and certainly as bad as Walsh did. My point being is the statement is we need to look at the common denominator of what has happened to three men who use their leg for a profession and now are in basically rubber rooms. And we need to look at the head coach here a little bit.
Okay. On one hand, I agree. It's very, very odd that you have three very talented kickers. One of them, a longtime veteran in Dan Bailey. Blair Walsh coming off one of the great seasons ever in kicking history. He was 10 for 10 from 50 yards and out.
His rookie year was unbelievable. Draft pick, yes.
And then Mike Zimmer comes in, and it's like he can't even make a 27-yarder to win a playoff game, and he's got first graders like sending him, don't jump off the ledge letters back in 2014.
Correct.
What was the exchange after the cutting of Daniel Carlson at the press conference?
Chris Thomason said what went into the decision to cut Carlson, and Zim's immediate response was, "Did you see the game?"
And then the follow-up question was it
a tough decision?
A tough decision? And he goes, "Nope," or something like that.
Not really. No,
not really. No, he's and now Dan Carlson's having a pretty good career. Looks like he's going to be a 10-year kicker
for John Gruden, who's not exactly the easiest guy to probably play for or kick for.
No. I've got a visual for you guys here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. The guy that I would put a phone call into today, the Silver Fox, the 47-year-old.
Is that beard real?
Adam Vinatieri.
Is that beard real?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Sandpaper.
I mean, it looks just like it does. It looks like me.
Yeah, it looks like Judd.
I should be out there kicking.
And I know that he missed like most of his kicks last year with the Colts or whoever he finished his career with. But listen, I'm bringing Adam Vinatieri in. I'm bringing the steely, grizzled veteran in for one last ride.
But doesn't it bug you though that like this position that probably needs a pat on the back and is a different breed, right? Like this is not a defensive back. This is not a linebacker. This is not a left tackle. This is a kicker, and you probably need to be a little bit more, okay, dude, I know. And instead, these guys just are mental messes by the time they're done.
Here's the thing, though. Mike Zimmer, I'm going to play an audio clip here. It's about 15 seconds. He was actually more lenient when talking about, now he did offer the we don't care about feelings thing, but even that was like, should I say this? Should I not? And then this was his other comment.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really disappointed. I have a lot of faith in him. I have a lot of confidence in him, but, these last 2 weeks have not been good. So, I love the kid. He's a great kid. He's very even-natured. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if I could translate that, it's he's such a good guy, but he just had a mental breakdown for 3 hours that cost us a football game.
We're checking him into a center, a kicking center.
So here, all right, let's transition. Here's one of my statements for you here. Mike Zimmer, despite the diplomatic things that he said in his press conferences yesterday, is about the worst possible head coach to be handling and managing a kicking crisis. Because he's not going to be the guy that puts his arm around, these are golfers in shoulder pads. Sometimes they just need a psychologist to come over and say, dude, it's all good. You're Dan the man. You're Dan freaking Bailey. You used to be one of the most accurate kickers of all time until you had a mental breakdown that got you out of Dallas, and now it's going to get you out of Minnesota. But listen, we're fine. We can run the table with these 3 games, and you're going to be a huge reason why. Like, he's not going to be the Pete Carroll, Sean McVay, buddy coach that's going to come up to you. He expects you to do your job. And so I am torn between, Dan Bailey has been mostly reliable this season, and this is just kind of a blip that's popped up the last couple weeks. And I do feel kind of bad that he made the slow, shameful walk back in front of cameras to his little kicking net as Joe Buck and Troy Aikman wondered about his sanity. Like, I do feel a little bit bad for him in that regard. But on the other hand, dude, like, this is a playoff run. Jobs are on the line. Games are on the line. You got to do your job.
Sure.
Like, you have one thing that you're working on all week and it malfunctions.
But the question is, how do you go about getting the most from that guy?
You cut him.
And
you bring in somebody else.
But I'm saying, I think the mentality of treating him, the thing with Mike is I'm pretty sure that Mike treats his kickers like he does his safeties, like he does his defensive tackles, right? Like that's no. You've got to do things differently. Like the entire thing I think about being a really good boss is knowing what trips the trigger of the employee. And if you go, look, it's not a coincidence that Walsh, Carlson, and Bailey are going to leave here basically in straitjackets. Like they're going to put them in straitjackets and push them out the door. I feel bad for them in that sense. I'm with you. Do your job. But my question is, how does the boss get that person to do his job to the best of his abilities? And my guess is scouring and staring them down is not the most effective way.
But that's the thing, Mike, this is the difference between, like, you bring up the safeties and the defensive ends. Mike Zimmer will go and mold those pieces of clay and teach, and he will demonstrate, and he will spend time and engage with those players. I don't think he makes eye contact with the special teams guys at any practice. I think like those guys are just like out of sight, out of mind. Just do your job. You can make a mistake once in a while because we're all human. So he's much less likely to engage with Dan Bailey in some meaningful way that gets the most out of him for this 3-game stretch. He'd rather just bring somebody else in that's not currently broken. Like, well, is it likely that Dan Bailey's going to kick for another 5 years in the NFL and unwire this, mental knot that's taking place? Like, yeah, he'll probably kick somewhere else next year and be fine. But that doesn't help the Vikings right now. The Vikings need to win 3 games right now, and they need to make field goals and extra points to win those 3 games.
You're right, yes.
All right. Dex.
Yeah, I'm going to double down on Mike Zimmer's comment and say that I don't care about your feelings, Dan Bailey. I don't care that you're a human being. You have one job, and it's a job to do. It's very easy to do. Like every position in football, there's things in front of you that prevent you from doing your job. You're a cornerback, you got to cover wide receivers. Some are good, some are good. Some aren't good route runners. Some are just bad players, but eventually you might be able to shut them down, or you might get burned. If you're a quarterback, you got to be indicative of your offensive line, the corners, everything that's going on. When you're a kicker, there's one thing that you have to do. Kick the football through the GD uprights. That's all you have to do. I don't care that he's a human. I don't care about your feelings, Dan Bailey.
What about his family?
I don't care about his family. I do not care about his family. I don't wish ill upon his family, but I don't care. I don't wake up every day and go, gee whiz, Willikers, I wonder what Dan Bailey's family's up to on Christmas morning today. I don't care about that.
Don't you find it odd, though, that these guys at the same position continue to melt down in spectacular fashion and that there's one common person here?
Yeah. And Zimmer deserves, I get it. Like Zimmer deserves blame, but at the same time, if you make the kicks, then we don't have to talk about this. Yeah. We don't have to talk about this.
It's a very weird
thing.
thing.
No, you're both right. You're both right. And this is why I straddle the fence. Judd is right. Mike Zimmer is kryptonite for kickers mentality. Declan is right. Just kick the ball through the uprights like you've been doing for 10 years in the NFL. Who cares about your head coach that that doesn't pat you on the back? It's super weird. Quick question off Declan's rant there. Have you guys ever been so mad at an athlete or a sports figure that you actually did wish a little bit of ill upon their families?
No. No.
Just a little, not like,
like
not
at
like
a play on
but
my team as a kid or an opponent.
Either way.
Like opponents, I used to hope would get hurt. Like Gretzky.
What?
When I was a kid, because the Stars played them in the Western Conference Finals, and I didn't want him playing. But like, sense. I never wished ill will on his family.
Okay,
I just didn't want him to play because he was the key ingredient to why my team was losing.
Was it like a day-to-day injury, or were you hoping for something?
No.
Life-altering?
No. Just like a broken ankle.
Okay. Back to Judd.
My statement is this: it is unacceptable when the combined line in the box score of Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen is a combined 7 catches, 39 yards apiece in a absolutely key game when you are playing football in an era where, bear with me here, the pass is king, not the run. It is unacceptable when basically your 2 star receivers combined for 7 catches and 12 targets. When I believe there have been games individually throughout the course of this year where one of those players has basically been targeted at times 12 times.
I mean, in fairness, it's tough to get the targets to Thielen and Jefferson when you have to get 5 or 6 to Tyler Conklin and another handful to CJ Ham.
3 to CJ Ham.
It's
five to Tyler Conklin had 5 targets. You're right. He caught all 5 passes. Wait for it, for 40 yards.
The Tyler Conklin game. Where were you when you saw the Tyler Conklin game?
You're right.
Going to tell all of our future generations.
You are right. In fact, here's a stat. Conklin and Dex's guy, Chad Beebe, combined for 8 targets or as many as Jefferson did.
And you know who was the worst graded player on the Vikings offense yesterday?
Chad Beebe.
Chad Beebe.
Did he drop one of those at least?
I probably did. Probably dropped something. But
what's your line?
Great
Quit trying
camp.
to make Chad Beebe happen.
Quit trying to make Chad Beebe happen, Vikings. That might be my other statement. But.
The most WTF, I think, target of the day was you saw it was like one of those NFL films, slow motion. You've got the music in the background, John Fascenda's voice from the 70s, and he dropped back to pass, and Kirk Cousins floated a beautiful deep ball 30 yards toward the end zone, and it's Tajay Sharp that's like running underneath.
What the hell was that?
Like,
You're right.
Instead of like Lynn Swan diving through the air, it's like Tajay Sharp.
How does Tajay Sharp, who barely plays, like he's barely active for games?
No.
I saw that and I thought, is that Treadwell? Oh no, wait, he's gone. It's Tajay Sharp.
God, dude.
I want to add a statement to all of this. All right, and again, I will preface this statement by saying Dan Bailey is the first, second, and third reason why they lost this game. I almost feel like the last 24 hours in whether it's Ventline yesterday or whether it's just like my interactions on Twitter for 6 hours after the game, that there's not room for multiple pieces of criticism here. That there's a reason why we do a pie chart of blame and praise on Mackey and Judd, Apple, Spotify, Scornet.com. We can say 2 things. 1, Dan Bailey was historically terrible and deserves to be cut and deserves to think about his transgressions on the football field for the next few weeks unemployed, right? And there are other things in this game that drove you nuts and may have cost the Vikings even if the game was close at the end, right? And so to go off of what you're saying with the offensive strategy, my statement is the Vikings, and I'm stealing this from somebody on Ventline yesterday, it was a great metaphor. The Vikings are a Ferrari driving 35 miles in the right lane, clutching the steering wheel at 10-2, just like peeing down their leg. Oh my God, what do we do with this Ferrari?
494.
They literally have one of the most dangerous big strike offensive weapons in the NFL in Justin Jefferson. And it's like, all right, should we use him? Let's definitely not use him in the first quarter. Okay, let's not target him at all in the first quarter. Let's be sure we run the ball 30 times today and throw 6-yard play action drag routes to our fullback and backup tight end. Like that's the first priority. And then maybe if we get around to Justin Jefferson after the first quarter, we'll see what happens. Like the other thing too about this offense that drives me nuts, and maybe this can be disproven through some stat research, but does it seem to you guys like the Vikings call plays and scheme relative to down and distance and not max offensive potential? And what I mean by that is, like when it's 2nd and 2, they're thinking, okay, it's 2nd and 2. We need to call a play that gets us 2 yards. So we're going to hand off, or we're going to throw like a dump off to CJ Ham.
Sure.
Instead of, okay, it's 2nd and 2. Our whole playbook is open right now. We could run a play action and throw a bomb down the field to Justin Jefferson, right?
Yep.
It's like, all right, it's we got 3rd down and 6 here. Let's be sure we hit Tyler Conklin right around the 6-yard mark and just sort of pray that he can fall over the line.
No, he'll get 7. You don't understand. He's going to get 7 yards.
Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like mad about this loss yesterday, but like you guys, you got Justin Jefferson, you got Adam Thielen, Irv Smith, for God's sakes, like once every 6 games, they dust off Irv Smith, and he looks like this every time you dust him off. He's running like a cyborg down the sideline for 15 yards after the catch. That dude averaged 16 yards a catch yesterday because he's awesome.
No, but he's no Ty Conklin.
He's no Kyle Rudolph.
That's sure. Who says Rudy's out? So what are we gonna do? It's Conklin time.
Like, no, the first priority. I know we got all these weapons and we got a Ferrari. let's make sure that we're running 8.5-minute drives that take 15 plays, no less, because time of possession is the trophy that we're after here in Minnesota.
Damn it, Rick. If you don't draft me a slow, white, big, oafy tight end, I'm going to be mad.
I think we're back to Declan here. Viking statements.
Mine is Mike Zimmer, do your job. And what I mean by that is this pressure rate statistic. So yesterday, the Vikings pressured Tom Brady just 3 times. Statue, Tom Brady.
Dude, that's nuts.
3 times. You were able to get after him. 3 times. Kirk Cousins was pressured 24. Ndamukong Suh had like 9 pressures alone yesterday on Kirk Cousins. I know Danielle Hunter's out. Everson Griffin's gone. But you can't figure out any type of way. And it can be on cornerback blitzes. It can be on linebacker blitzes. Harrison Smith can blitz the quarterback. You can't figure out any other way to pressure Tom Brady. And Mike Zimmer's this defensive genius coach. How do you only walk away from that game with 3 pressures? Mike Zimmer, I need you to do your job. Or do your job better. It's probably the better way to look at it.
Yeah, that was, man, I mean, I think I would have felt better. We talked about this going into the game. I would have felt better about that defensive effort if they sold out to pressure Tom Brady. Like literally just bring like 0 blitzes and make him go back under pressure and throw the ball. Because Tom Brady under pressure going into this game had a 49 passer rating. And so don't you have to dial it up multiple times and just see what he can do with that 49 passer rating?
Might as well.
And they did a couple times, but like Harrison Smith almost got home one time.
Yeah.
But overall,
Early
it was
again.
just, it was not a good performance for defensive pressure. Judd?
My third statement is very simple. The Vikings offense has been exposed. And there to me is now a blueprint to beating this team. And Tampa Bay showed it, not to perfection on Sunday, but they came pretty damn close. That is this. Let Dalvin cook all he wants, because the ingredients then are gone. Justin Jefferson, covered. Adam Thielen, covered. The Buccaneers said, Cook is going to, we're really good statistically against the run, but Cook is going to get his, and we're not going to care. They also said, as a result of our strategy, CJ Ham and Tyler Conklin are going to get theirs. And again, we don't care. The blueprint for these next 3 games to me are Dalvin Cook is going to gash you. He's going to get yards, but he's running the football. He's holding it and running it on the ground, and it's 2020. And Justin Jefferson, to Phil's point, is a Ferrari. And this guy can go 100 miles an hour. But the Vikings are going to be so content to run, they're going to ignore that gorgeous car in the garage because they got trusty old 4-wheel drive Dalvin. And I really think what we're going to see now from the Bears probably, from the Saints, and even Detroit in the last week is a philosophy of Tampa Bay showed us. Let Dalvin get his, and that's absolutely fine. And if they can beat us, they beat us. But what we're not going to do is bite on play action and not be so concerned about Cook that all of a sudden Jefferson and Thielen and Kirk, who can do it, beat us.
Yeah, it's such a thin margin. Like they're operating. We're gonna possess the ball and we're gonna run it and we're gonna slowly chunk our way down the field and we're gonna play good stout defense and build our defense back up. It's like, you know how perfect you have to be in every facet of that blueprint to win the Super Bowl? As they found out, by the way, in 2017.
Or just to beat good teams, period, Phil.
That's
like just normal games.
Yeah. It is, this is the comparison we brought up on Mackey and Judd today. It's like the 1988-89 Detroit Pistons, the bad boy Pistons, the don't come in my paint. We're going to play defense and we're going to shoot twos. And we're gonna win a title.
Bill Lambier.
It's like, and that definitely worked in the late 80s. And if you were to take that philosophy and put it into the 2000, I was gonna say 2020 NBA, the Warriors aren't what they were. The 2016 NBA,
yep,
with the Golden State Warriors at their peak, or the 2018 NBA, the Detroit Pistons could operate their game plan flawlessly. They could play lockdown defense in the paint, and they could instill fear in the paint, and they could shoot twos and do their thing, right? And have some athletes running around. Don't come in my paint, Steph Curry. And Steph Curry's like, all right, cool. I'll just shoot from 35 feet and we'll beat you by 30 points. Because Like you can't keep up with what the rest of the league is doing.
Right.
And that's kind of what it feels like. And I get that if Dan Bailey makes a couple kicks, the Vikings might win this game. This is more of a macro discussion about philosophy.
Right.
You watch these games and it's like, okay, this ball control, play action. When you're down by 14, up by 14, we're going to run the same pace, no urgency.
But the maddening thing, Phil, is you've got a Steph Curry. Like, you've got that player in purple.
Yeah, his name is
Justin Jefferson is your Steph Curry. And you're still saying, you know what? Today we're going with the Michael Jenkins plan.
Michael Jenkins.
We're barely going to get him the football, and he's going to be a decoy.
Who is your guys' favorite? So Tyler Conklin definitely put up his biggest game probably of his career. Say, who is your guys' favorite obscure Vikings tight end in your time watching the purple?
Oh, God.
Wiggins.
Jermaine Wiggins?
I like Jermaine Wiggins.
Love
yeah.
Jermaine Wiggins.
He might have risen above obscure status.
Oh, I got one for
He's
you.
pretty good, though, yeah.
Do you recall, and I don't know if this player was active for more than a handful of games, but he was on the practice squad constantly for like 3 years. Richard Angula.
Wow.
Do you remember Richard Angula?
I do, yeah.
Big. I mean, he looked the part. Vikings big tight end. He could truck people. And I think he was on the active roster for a few games, but he spent, I swear to God, like 3 parts of 3 years on practice squad. And he was always there. But he was a big guy, and you walked past him and thought, that's a tight end in the National Football League. And like, he amounted to nothing.
Who was the guy? Well, by the way, Visante Shanko is my answer, but if he's not obscure enough,
Yeah, he was good too.
who was the guy that they claimed from the Patriots around? It's like it was in the Shanko era.
Oh, white, not a big guy.
But he was great at like Toledo and
he
college
wore like
or
number
something.
45. He like
Garrett Mills.
Garrett Mills.
Garrett Mills.
Yes. Yeah. He's a former Patriot. He must know a lot of secrets. He's like,
Garrett
hey,
Mills.
guys, what's up?
Another great one would be Jeff Dugan. And he
Yeah.
was-
Oh, good.
Dugan,
Jeff
like
Dugan.
he was
Love
on the
it.
team, a 7th round pick in 2004, and was on the team through 2010.
Yes.
Dude, Jeff
Jeff Dugan, man.
Jeff
Good.
Dukes. Dukes would catch the ball and just fall down. It was glorious. That's a great one, Dex. I love it.
All right, next statement. The Vikings may have gotten screwed WWE style by the commish yesterday, Roger Goodell, okay? So Declan and I are huge professional wrestling fans. The Montreal screw job is the ultimate sort of, and this is mid-90s is when Vince McMahon, Eric Bischoff, the bosses would come in, break the fourth wall, and they would alter outcomes on screen of matches, right? Just like the corrupt, authoritative figure would come down. In the Montreal screw job in 1997, you had a hard-fought battle. You had Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, championship bout, Survivor Series, and Vince McMahon comes wandering down, and the cameras show Vince McMahon. You're like, oh, something's going down here, right? He's going to alter the finish of this match, and he does. Yesterday, yep, Vikings are missing kicks, but they're hanging tough. They're moving the ball offensively, and they're just trying to get into halftime, right? And all of a sudden, cameras show Roger Goodell next to his wife, Evil Empire, sitting in the stands in Tampa Bay. And then just coincidentally, I'm sure, we get the rogue home clock operator stopping the clock with 1 second left as players are scrambling to line up and spike the ball. Like, it's like players are still like running to the line of scrimmage as the clock goes 2, 1.
There's just an app on Goodell's phone. He just goes,
Stop. It's like players are literally like still like lining up. Like it's been on 1 second for a half hour. And so, all right, well, I guess we got one more play out of this. What should we do? Hail Mary? Oh, maybe we can mix in the most unprecedented bad call by a referee on a Hail Mary we've seen in 10 years. Apparently, there's been no defensive pass interferences on Hail Marys since at least 2009. All of this very, very suspicious when you think of Roger Goodell's motives. And I'm not a big like blame the officials guy, but it would be good for business if Tom Brady was assured a playoff game on national TV.
Or a Super Bowl in his home stadium.
That could be another thing.
Becoming the
Would be
first
beneficial.
quarterback to be able to play a Super Bowl in his home stadium.
Just going to throw that out there. I felt like the Vikings, they definitely shot themselves in the foot more than anything. But that sequence at the end of the second quarter reeked of corruption. That was bad.
yeah, my final statement would be, you almost said it, Phil. You screwed yourselves. You literally screwed yourselves out of a possible NFC playoff berth by losing this game. Now you have to run the table. You have to have, hopefully, that Arizona loses at least one of their next 3 games. the way this game was going in the first quarter, it looked like, oh my gosh, this actually could work. Tom Brady is off his game again today. The bye week did not help. More dysfunctions coming to Tampa Bay. The Vikings are having these long, sustainable drives. I think the Vikings are actually going to get a rare win in Tampa Bay. Instead, Dan Bailey literally cost the team the game. You have refs going against you. And now, you have to run the table and get some help around the league just to make the playoffs. So you kind of screwed yourselves with this loss.
Yeah, they screwed themselves in a lot of ways. Judd, you got another statement?
Yes, a positive.
Oh. Kirk
Cousins, man. When did you become Fran Tarkington? 41 yards, 5 scrambles. He was second to Cook on the Vikings in rushing yards on Sunday. I owe Kirk a bit of an apology because when he talked about scrambling more and being more mobile, I think right before the season started, perhaps, or early on, I laughed and said, you're not going to be able to run. You're Kirk Cousins. Look at you. You sort of lug along like I do. He took off on Sunday, scrambled for some yards, slid pretty well. Not great, but pretty well. Kirk Cousins as Tarkington scrambling. More power to you, buddy.
Yeah, he was that his best rushing game of his career. I haven't gone back and looked, but it has to be up there, right?
I think Thomason had some note that it was his most in a game since like 2015
Maybe you like that
was
game.
The young Kirk Cousins, but this is impressive.
I'm glad you brought up Kirk because I'll give you one more statement here.
You're his top fan. I hope you do.
Final statement. Yesterday's loss was not Kirk Cousins' fault. Okay, just want to go on record.
Goodwill Hunting.
It was not Kirk Cousins' fault.
Don't you do this to me,
not your
Phil.
fault.
Don't you do this to me.
It's not your fault.
Not you, man.
Kirk Cousins was fine yesterday. In fact, with his legs, crazy legs Cousins, I think he was more than fine.
Royce, he called him that on Twitter. I think he called him Crazy Legs Cousins.
He must have stole that from me. I called him Crazy Legs Cousins off the jump. Maybe we both were. He was fine. Like he was fine yesterday.
Yep.
But we could do a deeper dive on Wednesday for our weekly State of Kirk Cousins address. I feel like we spend way too much time praising Kirk for avoiding fault. Like yesterday, it's like a race. It's Dan Bailey's fault, which it was. The offensive line's fault over here. It's this thing's fault. It's the defense's fault. Like we trip over ourselves praising Kirk for avoiding fault in these situations. And maybe not enough time demanding excellence either out of him or out of the position in big games like this. And so as we go forward, whether it's with Kirk this season or whether it's with whoever the quarterback is over the next 5 years, I think the two questions we have to answer on behalf of quarterbacks each week with the Vikings is, if you lose, okay, was it the quarterback's fault? We can have that discussion for 5 seconds. But the second question is, and this is the most important one, is your quarterback actively elevating the team on a week in, week out basis? Is he making dynamic plays that alter the outcome of the game? It's not enough to just do your job and fit in with the offense in 2020's NFL, especially if you get paid a lot of money. It's about making dynamic plays and altering the outcome of the game for the positive. And so that's the lens through which I view the position, especially as the money goes up and the cap hit goes up. So yesterday, it was not his fault. It was not his fault. Was he elevating the team, making dynamic plays and altering the outcome? You guys can answer that yourself.
Kirk remains on track, I do believe, with the way he's playing right now, to have an outstanding 2021 in San Francisco.
You're so negative, Judd.
No, I'm telling you.
So negative.
Get Kyle his guy.
Can't go 5 seconds.
Give Shanny his guy. Give Shanny his guy. Give Kyle his man, okay? We're being selfish. We are not being Minnesota nice if we withhold Cousins services from the city by the bay.
Okay, let me ask you this question real quick. All right, let's say you had two choices for the window of 2021 through 2023. So you have to make a 3-year financial commitment. You can either have Kirk Cousins at $30 million a year to the cap.
Okay.
Let's see if you have to restructure again, $30 million a year to the cap.
Sure.
Next 3 years. Or after seeing him for one game, Jalen Hurts on a rookie scale contract.
Jalen Hurts on a rookie scale contract. Not even.
What do
close.
you mean? He only played one game.
I'm in.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but here's the thing.
I'm in on the
rookie scale contract. Can I pick a QB? Can I pick a young one? Like, I don't know that Hurts is my guy, but I love the contract. If it's not, that 30 mil is what kills you. That's what gets you.
And a lot of people are saying,
that and
well,
the deep pass to Tajay.
but
Sharp
Kirk only
late.
makes $20 million this year. Great.
That's still a lot.
Go win. Go win the Super Bowl.
That's still a lot.
Put your team together.
I will take my chances with the rookie scale quarterback contract. That's what I would like to do. I'm not exactly sure who I want at this point, short of a guy like Trevor Lawrence, but I'll take my chances.
But
there.
hey, just to put a stamp on this, it was not his fault. It was
Are
not
we
Kirk's
really
fault
now?
yesterday.
Do we really now have to do segments absolving Kirk?
Yeah.
That is a really weird place to be. Do you think in like Philadelphia or Boston, okay, let's talk about the quarterback play. It's not Cam Newton's fault.
It is kind of funny that like
why are we having to do this?
It's like it goes back to the two different discussions you can have. Was it your quarterback's fault that you weren't good enough as a team to win the game? Like that's a completely ridiculous discussion that we have all the time. So it's on us. Or the discussion about the upside. Was your quarterback dynamic enough, making enough plays, elevating the things that aren't perfect on your roster? That's where I want to be. Those are the discussions that I want to have going forward.
I just want to know where Justin Jefferson was. That's all.
Yeah, well,
I just want to know where.
Targeted 8 times, actually.
Yeah, he was targeted 8 times.
None in the first quarter, which kind of bothers me. Can't find the guy once in the first quarter.
You know what?
Maybe if we don't target him in the first quarter, they'll forget about it.
You don't get it. He is not part of the methodical game plan. The methodical, let's move her down the field as slowly as possible. Let's eat up. Can we eat up an entire quarter?
Yeah. All right. Well, that was an awfully positive version of Viking statements here on Purple Daily. We'll do a deeper dive into Mike Zimmer's record against winning teams tomorrow. And then later in the week, our state of Kirk Cousins will go into just sort of, where are we at here with this thing? You know, he was brought in almost 3 years ago to help get over the NFC Championship game hump, to win a Super Bowl.
You're at one playoff win, to be exact.
Where are we at here? Well, we'll do those dives in the next couple days here. Thanks for hanging out with us on Purple Daily. Phil Mackey, Judd Zulgad, Declan Goff. See you.